Review Board and the Plan Commission were given a different set of calculations for TID 25. The TID cost has increased in the middle of the approval process, and the document that you have before you tonight is different. And the cash flow projection has remained the same. We are counting on you to take your time and make the right decision. I ask you to vote no to TID 25 now in order to come up with the best solution for the city and the Memorial neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, City Clerk.
Christy Mercier.
My name is Christy Mercier. I live at 522 Geely. I am speaking a little bit bipartisan as far as the TID 25. I am with the Memorial neighborhood, and we just have some concerns as a neighborhood as a whole. We do want to have the Memorial area built and developed, whether that is with the TID 25 or not. We just believe that if it is developed, if we can do it without the TID 25, that would be great. However, that would probably be with zoning so that everything can be uniform. And we're also concerned with the length of time that green space is available. We don't want to see it laying there vacant for a long period of time. We want to see that developed as soon as possible, but we also don't want it to be a bunch of houses that are rapidly developed and poor quality. We're concerned about the length of time that we would have to have those TIDs paid back, because that is a big concern, because that is a long time that the city is not getting that money back, and the price of the TID and the developer expenses. And now we've recently seen developments online that the prices and the costs have changed and might not be updated according to what we were initially told. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right. City Clerk.
Jessica Huss.
Hello, Jessica Huss, 1949 North 9th Street, Sheboygan. Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight regarding agenda item number 18, the creation of the tax incremental district number 25, otherwise known as TID 25. The project plan includes the construction of 21 single-family homes, updating the infrastructure to support the development. The total estimated expenditures for this project is $3,421,063, and there's an additional $1.6 million in developer incentives. The TID is scheduled to close in 2053. I will begin by sharing that I'm not opposed to TID. I believe there are many times that it's beneficial to the community to utilize them. Since moving to the city of Sheboygan 18 years ago, I have seen an incredible transformation, and I would say that most of this development was funded by TID. However, I view TID as being an investment, which means if the taxing jurisdictions, including the city, county, school districts, and technical college choose to utilize it, then everyone should get a return on that investment. Unfortunately, I have my doubts when it comes to TID 25, and there are 3 reasons why. First, when Aurora decided to sell the property to the city of Sheboygan, I believe we stopped collecting any property tax on that land. Since the city is a government, they do not pay tax on the city-owned property, and this is true for all the land the city has purchased in the past few years. The tax revenue coming into the city stays the same, but there are basically less pieces of the pie, and the burden falls on the other taxpayers to fund it. Personally, my property taxes increased $386.87 last year. Since purchasing my home in 2021, they have increased a total of $774.89. I know there are other factors at play, such as the property reevaluations, but I believe the loss of this land from the tax roll is costing us money too. In my opinion, the taxpayers need to have these parcels sold and back on the tax roll as soon as possible so we can get some relief. If TID 25 is created, it could take years until the construction is complete and the homes are sold. Second, it is my belief that by the time this TID closes in 2053, Sheboygan will likely have a surplus of housing. I understand that this is something that's difficult for people to talk about, but our largest generation is aging and our birth rate is declining, which means that the time will come when we experience a sharp decline in our global population, and Sheboygan will be no exception. When the baby boomer generation began to retire from the workforce a few short years ago, we felt that loss. It is only logical to believe that we will feel it again when they begin to pass in hopefully many years. My question is, what will happen to the property values of the parcels in TID 25 if this is correct, and there are too many houses when it closes in 2053? The housing market is hot right now, and I would think the jurisdictions would want to capitalize on that. I also wonder what will happen to our property value, all of our property values, if we just open the floodgates and start building houses like what sounds like to be planned. I truly understand that housing is a problem, but I hope this is considered in your plans. I caution you against using a permanent solution to what seems to be a temporary problem. Third, speaking only for myself, if I could afford to purchase one of those lots, then I would want to build my own home to my taste and that meets the needs of my family. A spec home would not appeal to me, and if that was all the city had to offer me, I would likely look a little further down the road into the town of Sheboygan or the village of Cleveland. And now, if other people feel the same as I do, those parcels could stand empty and the developer will still need to be paid the $1.6 million. This has happened here before. When I was the deputy finance director here, we had a couple of TIDs that were not performing and needed to be funded by other TIDs. I won't get too far into the weeds, but it can get a little messy when things don't go as planned. So my suggestion to you is to vote no on the creation of TID 25, complete the estimated $600,000 in necessary sewer and infrastructure repairs using budgeted fund balance or debt service, establish covenants to preserve all of the historic neighborhoods in Sheboygan to ensure that the homes that are built there match the character and charm that they currently boast, sell the parcels on the former Aurora property to private citizens so they can be returned to the tax roll as soon as possible, allow the owners to hire their own architects and design the homes that will meet their individual families' needs. I agree that this is a highly desirable area to live in, and I think those parcels would sell quickly. I hope that you will consider my perspective when you make your decision on this resolution. Thank you for your time and thank you for your service.
Thank you. City Clerk?
Brian Kelly.
Name, address, item you'd like to speak on, Brian, and then you'll have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Brian Kelly. I live at 2006 South 9th Street. I'm going to speak on the same thing, TID 25. I've been coming to city meetings for over a year now. I've been speaking on pro-housing pretty much every single time. This is I think the first time I'm asking the council to vote no. I sent an email out to all of the council members detailing why, but I'll try my best to summarize here. First, I don't think this is meeting our guidelines on tax increment financing. One of the goals is to utilize tax increment financing to promote infill development that can achieve the highest and best possible use of land. Normally we make exceptions to our zoning code to allow things to be more dense than what our zoning code allows. This is the rare exception where the zoning code is much more dense than what this development is proposing. Next is a guideline that we aim to minimize the percentage of an increment applied to a development project. The document says generally Sheboygan does not approve increment financing for more than 15% of a project area's assessed value. In this case, we're projecting $3.4 million in expenses to achieve an $8 million incremental valuation. That's about, like I said, 42% of the incremental value is going to expenses. Then each TID must pass the but-for test, saying the development could not occur but for creation of the TID. Evidence given in the document was that there are high costs associated with the demolition of structures at the site. As far as I can tell, that has already been completed, so I don't think that is something that the developer would need to worry about. The other evidence was saying that public infrastructure is needed, that infrastructure has existed, and it's only the maintenance of that. I would expect that the city would budget for maintenance of its infrastructure, so I don't really see how the new development is something special here that would need a tax increment district to build that. And then basically, when hearing about the but-for test, my question is, why can't the developer just charge what the market rate is instead of having the TIF subsidize the cost of the houses? I think that was in a past meeting where it was basically we were trying to cut the cost of these single-family houses down. Single-family homes are the most expensive form of housing that we can build, so I don't see why we're using TIF to subsidize this type of housing when we could use it in a more efficient way, maybe in a different area, hopefully keeping this not a TID. And then in terms of neighborhood character, I went through and looked at all of the lot sizes in that neighborhood. The mean size is about 7,120 square feet. The median is 6,000 square feet. The proposal is to build 14,000 square foot lots, far exceeding what the neighborhood already has. Finally, the 2024 budget mentioned short-term challenges due to a lack of new development outside of TIDs. I believe that this is a perfect area to develop outside of a TID. And then, as I've said in so many other meetings, I highly recommend council to look at the 2021 and 2023 housing studies. They both had a whole bunch of zoning code changes that were recommended to the city. I think there's only one change that was made so far. There's a lot of progress that could be made there. So basically, ideally, I think that this should not be a TID, and I would love to see those opportunities made where we could promote smaller builders in our community rather than having everything go out to developers from other cities or other states. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. All right, City Clerk.
William Young.
Hello, my name is Bill Young. I reside at 438 Clement Avenue in the city of Sheboygan. The presentations that you've heard tonight have contained a lot of facts and figures, and I can't speak to those in my presentation. I can only speak what I personally feel as a resident of Clement Avenue in Sheboygan. I'm a resident of Memorial neighborhood, which surrounds the proposed TID 25, and I'm a founding member of the Memorial Neighborhood Association. As such, I have attended nearly every association meeting since its inception. However, I'm speaking here today solely as a resident of the neighborhood, and my views do not necessarily represent the views of the association's neighbors. I mention this, though, because I was present at all of the many association meetings where Carrie Wimmer, manager of community outreach for Aurora Medical Center, Sheboygan County, kept the neighborhood up to date on the plans for and the progress of the demolition and redevelopment of the Aurora Memorial Hospital building and site. I was also present at meetings of the association where Mayor Sorensen and then City Administrator Todd Wolf spoke to us and apprised us of the legal agreement that had been worked out between Aurora and the city, stating that the site would be redeveloped with single-family homes styled in the manner of the existing homes in the neighborhood. Not apartments, not McMansions, and not another gas station. This agreement was made between the city and Aurora with the idea that Aurora would be the party responsible for finding a developer for the site once demolition was completed. After 2.5 years of trying to find a developer, Aurora was not successful. This site was subsequently sold to the city with the thought that the city of Sheboygan has the experience, expertise, and contacts to find a developer for the site. From what we've been told at our association meetings, the city offered the site to redevelopment to 2 developers. The first developer turned the city down because the size of the 7.5-acre lot was not large enough for it to be economically feasible for them to develop it. A second developer was then found who was willing to develop the site with homes in the style of existing homes. However, this developer is being promised a substantial monetary incentive to build. We have not been told why this monetary incentive is necessary. Perhaps this developer needs that incentive for the project to be economically feasible to them as well. We simply don't know. The search for a developer for this site has now been going on for more than 3 years. As a neighbor living 1 block from the site, I have a vested interest in what happens there. I am very concerned that the current uproar over using TID funds to develop the site is going to jeopardize its redevelopment, and Memorial Neighborhood is going to be left with a vacant 7.5-acre lot in the middle of it for years to come. Worse yet, the site may be parceled out into lots and sold to individuals with no controls in place, resulting in non-conforming structures being built on the site. There have been comments on social media that aesthetics shouldn't be an important reason to develop the site with homes that complement the neighborhood. Memorial Neighborhood consists of homes that were built in the 1920s through the 1950s. They are 1- and 2-story single-family homes with a few duplexes as well. To construct large, modern-looking homes on the site would be a true detriment to the quality of our neighborhood. There are many of you here tonight who live in older historic neighborhoods of the city. I'm sure you will agree that building a 2025-style home in the midst of your historic neighborhoods would be a detriment to them as well. It is my opinion that the city has acted in good faith with the residents of Memorial Neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods to ensure that the site be developed in accordance with the document originally drawn up between Aurora and the city, and that they have found perhaps the only developer who is willing to work with this small lot. Therefore, I am in support of the city's plans to create a TID to develop the site. I personally am willing to pay the few dollars that might be added to my annual tax bill in order to maintain the beautiful neighborhood and city that I live in. I am certainly paying with my property taxes for other TIFs and TIDs that have improved other neighborhoods in the city, and perhaps those neighborhoods were yours. Frankly, I don't understand why this particular site is being singled out when so many other TIFs and TIDs for much greater amounts have been approved over the years without any opposition to them. All of that being said, I do believe the city owes it to their citizens to be transparent, to explain to them why this particular development and its funding are in the best interest of the city and the taxpayers. Although I am in favor of the development, I applaud the citizens who have come forward to question the methods of the Common Council in creating TIDs and TIFs. It is my hope that any future TIF and TID proposals are given a greater chance for public commentary. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. All right, that concludes the public forum for this evening. We'll jump into announcements. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I know the hot item on the agenda today is regarding our TIDs, and we'll have some more conversation later on that during the meeting. Other than that, I do have one announcement today, and I'll call up the fire chief up here real quick. So, whereas firefighters across the United States dedicate their lives to protecting the safety and well-being of all our communities, whereas firefighters not only respond to fires, but also serve as first responders in emergencies, including medical crises, disasters, hazardous incidences, and many more, whereas the fire department serves as a critical pillar of community preparedness, offering fire prevention education, safety inspection, and emergency readiness programs, and whereas International Firefighter Day provides an opportunity for all residents to express appreciation for our firefighters who work hard every day to keep our city safe. And now, therefore, I, Ryan Sorensen, as the mayor of the city of Sheboygan, do hereby proclaim May 4th, yesterday, as International Firefighter Day. So, Chief, just want to congratulate.
Sure, thank you. Everybody, I am proud of the department, and I hope everybody here in this room and watching are very proud of their organization that serves this community. Not only fire, but police, and may the 4th be with you.
All right. We'll jump into the consent agenda, items 7 through 9. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive and file all ROs, receive all RCs, and adopt all resolutions and ordinances.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion regarding the consent agenda items? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nice.
All right, those items are approved. Items 10 and 11 will lay over. Items 12 and 16 will be referred to the respective committees. Item 17, resolution number 2-2526 by Alder Mitchell and Prella, approving an amendment to the project plan and boundaries for tax increment District 21 in the city of Sheboygan. Alder Mitchell?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Alder Perella?
Yeah, I just want to take the opportunity for to ask the city administrator if he can expand on. So it's relatively simple in this case. We are going to add the parcels. I think there are about 79 parcels anyway, or 24.9 acres, I think. No, I'm not sure actually, but definitely about 80 parcels. And the cost change that is part of the amendment is about 859, I believe. And so I just want to have a confirmation of that is the only change that is going to happen to T21, and speak to the reason of that cost, please.
City Administrator?
Yep. So essentially, the amendment to the TID 21 boundary is to go down the Indiana corridor and put in properties north and south of that are all of the existing land is already in a TID. It's just moving it into TID 21, and the purpose of doing that is to work on an acquisition and partnership that we are undertaking with the Kohler Foundation and the Kohler Art Center. So this would essentially enable us to use TID funding from the growth that has taken place in TID 21 to acquire that property and enter into a partnership after we work out the details of the partnership with those two organizations.
Thank you for that. Just a follow-up. So that part, there is a little overlap, right, with the 17 and 18, I believe. But that part that we are going to add tonight as an amendment is not part of the overlap, correct? That is an addition, new addition to the TID.
It is addition to TID 21, but it is overlapped into with TID 17 in that area. So essentially, that's why you see no change, because all of this property is currently in a TID. So it's just overlapping, so the base won't change and it doesn't add any new value to the TID or the TID
Very
base.
good. Yes, thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Alder Porras?
Sorry, I just want to clarify that last point, and on the same note as what Grazia was saying, my understanding was that TID 16 and TID 17 overlaid TID 21, but that the new properties that were being added, or the new parcels being added, were not part of 16 or 17 currently. Can you clarify that?
Yes, TID 21 overlays a number of existing TIDs. I believe there's some of TID 19, 16, and 17. In this area in the Indiana corridor, all of these parcels being added are currently part of TID 17. That's why it doesn't have any affected change. I don't know if Kayla wants to weigh in.
Kayla?
Thank you. Yes, so TIDs go in order, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. So when you overlay a TID district, you're basically extending the time frame in which economic development can occur on those specific parcels. But really the main goal for this was TID boundaries have to remain contiguous. So to get to the parcel that is needed for the partnership with the Kohler Foundation, needed to bring in a number of other parcels which were already in TID 17. And so how that works mechanically is that at the creation of TID 17, the base value of those parcels were frozen, meaning at that point in time, all taxes collected on that value are still distributed to the overlying taxing jurisdictions as they normally would be. The increment up to the amendment of TID 21, that increment will stay in TID 17 and continue to pay for projects within TID 17. Any new increment from the day of action of the council, so let's say today, through the TID closure of TID 21, that increment stays in TID 21. So it's kind of three different buckets of value and where the taxes kind of will lie once the amendment is approved.
Thank you.
Alder Perella?
I want also to take this opportunity to clarify one more thing that may be just a collateral question. This is also a 27-year TID, and we know that we can have 1-year extension. Is that year extension already filed for? And can you explain publicly, even if it is not filed for already and it will be done later, would you please, for the public's sake, clarify what is that typically is done, or in our case is done with the revenues of that extension year, please?
There are two types of TID extensions that in Wisconsin these TIDs would extensions they'd qualify for. There's a 3-year standard extension in which at which point you have to demonstrate that the TID is not going to positively cash flow. Therefore, it needs to collect 3 more years of increment to pay off any obligations of the district. There is also a 1-year affordable housing extension in which the district can be extended to collect revenue for 1 year that is then placed into an affordable housing fund to promote affordable housing within the community. You cannot apply for an extension at creation. TID 21 was just created in 2024. It would require a project plan amendment many years from now because you have to demonstrate that the TID will not positively cash flow. At the end of the expenditure period is kind of when you'll get an understanding of when that what the obligations are going to be that might be outstanding. We did not create TID 21 with the expectation it would need any extension outside if the council at that point in time decided on the affordable housing extension. But obviously tax rates will change, project costs will change. Who knows kind of what those costs will be in 20 years. But it would require a project plan amendment at that point in time. Closer to the end of the life of the district. If there are any funds remaining at the closure of the district, meaning if there's any cumulative fund balance in the district that is distributed back to the overlying taxing jurisdictions on their proportional pieces of the tax bill.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Further discussion? All right, seeing no more, this will be a roll call vote.
Ten ayes.
All right, that is approved. Next item 18, resolution number 3-2526 by Alders Mitchell and Perella, creating tax increment district number 25, approving its project plans and establishing its boundaries. Alder Perella.
Yeah, I make a motion to table this item until after the committee of the whole, which is scheduled on May 15th.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on tabling this item? Alder Bellinger?
Could I get a reason why we're looking at doing that? I mean, there's been plenty of public discussion, whether it's been on Next Door Neighbor, there's been multiple meetings, there's been, I mean, this has been going on for quite a long time. We had Caitlin put out a special YouTube video on TIDS for the public. I forwarded that to multiple constituents as well. So I'm just wondering, why this is going to be held. I mean, there's been more than enough discussion on this at this point.
Yeah, I do understand. It's a legitimate question. However, since it was decided that we are going to have a committee of the whole on this subject, it makes only sense that we listen and have a dialogue on the subject before deciding. So I do agree that we had quite a bit of discussion, but apparently there is a need for more discussion on this subject, and we have that opportunity with the Committee of the Whole, which I think it is one of the best tools that can be used in these situations, and so I think we should take full advantage of that opportunity, and we will be able to decide then afterwards. After all, it will be, as you said, we have been discussing this for a while. If we wait 2 or 3 more weeks, it will not change much.
Thank you. Follow up, John?
Please. Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious why Resolution 7, item number 17 wasn't included, and why we were able to vote on that one prior to this Committee of the Whole meeting. It doesn't make much sense that we approve that regarding a TID, but yet we're withholding 18 because there happens to be some, public opposition to it. So if we were going to do what's best for the community and do this in a manner that is transparent, it should be both of them before we voted. I mean, I don't get why we voted on 17 before we had this Committee of the Whole meeting. It doesn't make sense.
Alder Rust?
So Alder Bellinger, the city administrator's office reached out to me asking me if I would be willing to hold a Committee of the Whole meeting with a meeting between, I believe is Ehlers and the city administrator, and was the third?
We'll have Von Briesen and Roper, the attorneys that write our development agreement, along with SEEDC, several of our partners, and then we asked an outside development organization, Redevelopment Resources, come in and talk. They did work on the housing study and kind of give a different perspective on some of the information that's being put out there.
Right, and so the city administrator's office reached out to me to ask me if I'd be willing to hold this town hall Committee of the Whole meeting, and I said I'd be willing with some of the interesting theories that I've seen float around on Facebook and social media in general. And I think a lot of people up here ran on transparency in government, and I think this gives us another level of transparency. And I feel that if the city administrator and city leadership is all right waiting another 2 weeks, I'm okay waiting another 2 weeks. And then also for the difference between, for me at least, difference between TID 21 and 25, TID 21 is just an extension of a TID that was already passed. TID 25 is the creation of a brand new TID. So that's where I see the difference between the two items. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Lefebvre?
Yes, I've also read a lot of the social media accounts on Nextdoor, and I believe those items that I've read prove that we need more transparency because there's a lot of misinformation that's going on. This would be a way of addressing that situation, calming the fears of the people who, they have a right to have fears, but there's a lot of misinformation that's going in there that needs to be addressed. And we can really, really effectively do that with a meeting of the whole and a town hall.
All right, thank you, Alder Lefebvre. Other comments? All right. Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote. For the motion to table.
Nine ayes, 1 no.
All right, that is tabled. Item 19 will lay over. Item 20 will be referred to the Public Works Committee. Next, we have item 21 under reports of committee, RC number 12526, by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred direct referral resolution number 42526 by Elders Mitchell and Perrella, authorizing the sale of parcel number 592817129330 and 592813183350 to Ludke Apartments LLC. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on this item? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Ayes.
All right, that is approved. Next, item 22, RC number 22526 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred direct referral resolution number 52526 by Elders Mitchell and Perrella, authorizing the sale of parcel number 592812022350 to Stephen Nass of Old World Creamery. Alder Mitchell.
Move to receive the RC and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Seeing none. Oh, Alder Decker, sorry.
I just wanted to applaud our staff for moving a piece of property that's been that belongs to the city. It's not on the tax rolls, and bringing it back to the tax rolls. We've got a lot of these little pieces of property, and I know that this has been a goal to of the administrator and of the city staff to remove some of these things from the city's ownership and put them back in the tax rolls. So I appreciate that.
Thanks, Alder Decker. Seeing no more cues, this is a roll call vote.
Ayes.
That's approved. Item 23 will be referred to the respective committee. We've exhausted the agenda. Alder Decker, what's your pleasure?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjourning, state aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned at 6:42. Thanks, everybody.
Right? Because if you're going to figure